Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today looking at the financial funding monster that the project has become and talking about some of its funding to date, new investments and what CIG have been investing in and the company's infrastructure. Star Citizen does appear to be making more money month on month, year on year. Its funding is actually speeding up significantly rather than slowing down, especially since December 2019. And recently Star Citizen, or at least its studio Cloud Imperium, has raised an additional $17.25 million as an investment from existing investors. So why is this? Why have they got even more investment money coming in when they've got so much crowdfunding money coming in? Well, on March 27th, 2020, Cloud Imperium announced that existing investors, the Calder family office, who had previously invested $46 million, Snoot Entertainment and ITG Investment, have exercised a one-time option to purchase further shares in the company. The share price reflects a discounted option price for existing shareholders that was pre-negotiated at the time of the initial investment in 2018. There were no further changes to the board composition as a result of this transaction. Chris Roberts continues to maintain full control of the board and group. There are no details of the specific amount of shares that changed hands here, but we can look at the original agreement. For a guesstimate, the $46 million investment got around 10% of shares in Cloud Imperium's parent companies. The 17.25 million is around 37.5% of that original 46 million, so that's just over a third of the original investment, and they said it was at the original price that they had pre-negotiated, so you can expect another 3.5 to 4% of CIG's shares to now be privately owned by the Calder company, taking their sort of like investment up to around 14%, I'd say. This appears to have been a one-time option only, though, to those investors that they could only do within a certain period of time, and they decided to exercise that. So that's new, but I now want to talk about how that affects Star Citizen's funding overall. But it also, Star Citizen's funding, as I said earlier, seems to be getting larger year on year, as in they're generating more money than the previous year on year, or at least now they're starting to generate quite a lot month on the previous year's months. This might be partly due to CIG sort of refining their marketing department and marketing in general, and just as more and more players come into the game, there's more people that can buy things. Star Citizen's funding chart on the RSI website shows 2.5 million player accounts and $275 million of funding, but that total amount should be a lot more than that, though I don't believe the total actually accounts for refunds. I would expect refunds to be up to 0.6% of purchases, looking at similar digital goods. Subscriptions, investments, and other incomes from subscriptions, investments, and sponsorships, incentives are not counted as part of that $275 million. As we don't have full figures for 2019 and 2020 yet, we'll have to do a bit of a guesstimate to work out what those figures may be more accurately. For subscriptions, we have $14.5 million that CIG have got from just their RSI subscriptions, from voluntary subscriptions on their website at the end of 2018. And we can assume that by the end of March 2020, this figure's probably around 19 million-ish in total generated in RSI subscriptions to date. For other income, we have around 29 million by the end of 2018, and I'm going to assume here that it's around 39 million total to date, given the sort of like additional 15 months there. Investments now, with the 46 million plus the 17.25 million, are a combined total of 63.25 million from the Calders. This puts my estimation and guesstimation for Star Citizen and Squadron 42's funding closer to 395.25 million, almost $400 million. There have been some investments made by CIG as well, though, so they've talked about investing a portion of that $46 million investment they originally got into their marketing department and setting up some company infrastructure. This could be one of the reasons that the company has been able to generate more income, but this is more as a future investment for Squadron 42 marketing and the quarterly release marketing of Star Citizen's Persistent Universe, but also they are getting into a better place where they're able to market spaceships, which make the lion's share of their money in much better ways, or at least in ways that are more efficient, that they've sort of refined. With the sort of like big sales in November, it's really interesting to see what they do for 2020 though. CIG now has between 550 and 580 employees across 5 studios. In the US, you've got Austin and LA as studios. In the UK, Manchester and Derby. And in Germany, you've got Frankfurt. Not all of those are devs, though, those 550 to 580 employees. There are admin, human resources, janitors in there too, so bear that in mind. At time of recording, there's also 81 positions that CIG are looking to fill as jobs across those studios. 46 of those are actually in the Manchester studio in the UK. They are also working with a major contractor, Turbulent, who look after their RSI web platform. And Cloud Imperium have traded some shares with Turbulent. Cloud Imperium UK's share acquisition expands and formalises the long-running partnership between Cloud Imperium and Turbulent, who have been instrumental in assisting in the creation of Star Citizen's online and publishing platform throughout 7+ year relationship between the two companies. Basically, Turbulent made the interactive star map and are handling updates to the website as well as the Spectrum forums and eventually the unification of a lot of this stuff into game. Expect some cool stuff from the website in the future is what I'm saying there. CIG bought a 25% share of Turbulent and acquired 2 seats on Turbulent's board. Turbulent's founders acquired 2,340 shares in Cloud Imperium, which equates to what I believe to be 0.2% of the shares of the company. They don't get any board seats or anything, but it's sort of like to solidify their continued working relationship together. What's the state of Cloud Imperium's board then currently? So Cloud Imperium's board of directors consists of 6 members. Chris Roberts, obviously the founder, Ortwin Fryermuth, the legal counsel there, Aaron Roberts, global head of production in the UK, and Eli Klein, an advisor for Cloud Imperium. There's also Sandy Gardner, who was previously the VP of marketing, and there's Mark Nixk, or Nish, I'm not sure how to say his name, who represents the Calder's now over $63 million investment. Chris Roberts retains full control of the Cloud Imperium board and group, though. There are worries over COVID-19 and how that might affect every industry in the world, though there is an argument that entertainment and video games are something that might actually do quite well out of the New World Order, though there are certainly less people with less money to spend on entertainment, I suppose. CIG have adapted quickly to working from home and are very confident in their updates and continued development of their games. They are lucky to have the infrastructure to support remote development on the scale that they're doing it now. We could certainly see some delays in the short term, and we don't know how it's going to affect long-term funding. Events like CitizenCon might also have to be cancelled. However, we might be back to a relatively normal, less lockdown life by October 10th when CitizenCon is supposed to be, and if we weren't, then they'd do something online. It will be interesting to see how effectively the studio can work from home, how funding is affected, and what sort of delays we could see here. If there is a lot of sick staff, then we could certainly see delays because of that. And we know that 3.9, the March first quarter 2020 patch, has been delayed by at least some time because of those ongoing issues, though I wouldn't expect a particularly long delay. Plus for 2020 though, Crytek lawsuit has now ended with CIG. So CIG and Crytek are covering their own legal expenses, which looks like to be the settlement. This effectively has CIG left with a $1 million bill to pay themselves, but the lawsuit can't come back in the future, and that might have actually been quite a sensible business decision. Trying to chase Crytek for money, even if CIG had one, might have been a bad choice. But just calling it there, and bam, it's done with. It may have been a bit of a silly lawsuit, but it is at least now done. Star Citizen still plan to release major quarterly patches for the Alpha Persistent Universe, and on the roadmap for Squadron 42, well, the roadmap for Squadron 42 has been paused while they come up with a better solution for showing progress to the backers that is less linear, because Squadron 42's progress is progressing, but they can't show us stuff without giving us spoilers necessarily, and the way they had previously shown us progress for Squadron 42 wasn't showing actual progress being made. It was showing a lot of stuff waiting to be finished because they're waiting for tech on the roadmap to be finished, and then they can mark all of these sort of like tasks completed. So it wasn't showing properly what it should have been showing. The last we heard from Cloud Imperium for Squadron 42 was that they plan to have a feature complete beta for Q3 2020. However, that may have changed by the time they show us the new roadmap or whatever they've got planned for Squadron 42. But even if it is a complete beta for Q3 2020, That's an internal beta. Don't expect to have access to that beta. Even with delays to Alpha 3.9 and no release dates for Squadron 42 yet, it doesn't look like funding is drying up for the project, even in uncertain times. Star Citizen is a beast of a project and something that I very much love to be along for the ride with as a backer and as a content creator with my YouTube channel, such as it is. And I will link all of the sources down below that I used here, because there's some really interesting ones. There's obviously the Cloud Imperium funding chart stuff, but there's also people have been tracking the funding along at home, and there's some cool graphs and stuff that I find very interesting. And I'm interested to know what you think. Are you concerned about more investment from the Colders with that additional 17.25 million? Do you see the Star Citizen funding speeding up, slowing down, or staying the same over the next few quarters in 2020? Do you trust CIG to manage their own financials, or do you think watching them and holding them to account occasionally is actually a valuable thing to do? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Every month we have a ship giveaway for Star Citizen. This month we are giving away an Anvil Arrow Light Fighter and game package with that, so you can have access to Star Citizen if you don't already. All you got to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos made during the month of March. There are full details in the description below. I am a shill for a couple of companies, NordVPN and NordPass. If you are looking for a VPN or a password management system, I recommend you check them out. They've got many benefits over free services, and as I'm pretty security conscious, I love those kind of services. Also, there's Shadow. If you are thinking about getting a new gaming rig or upgrading your gaming PC for Star Citizen or whatever, then consider Shadow instead. It is a internet cloud-based subscription service like Stadia, like GeForce Now, but this one gives you access to a full Windows 10 environment which is fully customizable, and that is significantly better in my opinion, allowing you to do a lot more with it. Check out the links below for them, or use the code BoredGamer for discount. Also, if you wish to support the channel further, there is Patreon, there's the YouTube join member button down below. That really helps. This is a community supported channel, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do without the support that I get. If you want to share these videos, if you want to comment, give feedback, whatever, that is also hugely appreciated. Thanks very much for watching, guys. You take care, and I'll see you in the verse.